One of the hardest muscle groups to train is the back. And even harder is building muscle in your back without weights. But with the right exercises, you can build a bigger, stronger back with just your body weight. I'm gonna show you the best body weight exercises that you can use to build a stronger back, and we're gonna start right now. The first movement for a stronger and more mobile upper back is the back bend, or what some folks in yoga call the wheel. One of the prerequisites to doing movements that are gonna be more complex is to figure out specific transitions or to figure out specific flows to learn these movements. And so when we're doing body weight exercises for our back, there's gonna be some complex stuff. And that's gonna be where we go with this first progression. Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna do is gonna help us lead into a very challenging movement pattern. And if you ever see yoga instructors that are just super limber, super mobile, they have quite a bit of strength. And it's strength that us here in the resistance training world can pull from quite a bit to help improve our limberness and then in turn help improve our overall strength. So we're gonna use our single leg roller to start the progression of our back bend. And this is where we're gonna use this exercise to light up our upper back. And this is a movement we've done recently, I've talked about just for mobility and just for improving my posture after sitting at the computer desk all day like an absolute gorilla. So one thing that we can do is set up our single leg roller here, available at GarageStrength.com, and set this up to support like our mid to upper back. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna roll over this bad boy because we have this support. Okay, and we want to think about lengthening right here, okay? And we can just hold this position. And I can already feel, I'm barely doing anything. I can already feel my shoulder blades, oh my God, starting to spasm. And let's say we go through that like 1 or 2 times, okay? So I'm gonna go back, boom. Hold this position, 5 to 10 seconds now. Now, the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove the single leg roller. If I get set here now, okay, I can start to hold this position and come back down. Now I can do that without the roller. If that was the first thing I would have done, I would have died. Now, I can do that for, let's say, 2 to 3 more progressions, and then we can get to the point where we're here, and we can do that, okay? Now, that's gonna take you some time. It's gonna be something that you have to work through with these progressions. Start off with that single leg roller, do that 3 to 4 sets. Then you can get into the isometric positions on the floor. Hold those positions, build up over time, start to feel comfortable. Then get into holding the position and get into some reps. That's gonna really wake up that upper back so you have that swole thoracic spine. Ooh, I love lifting weights to develop athleticism. I love lifting weights, and in no freaking world will you find me not talking about actually resistance-based training, improving your overall athleticism or improving your overall strength. However, I travel quite a bit, okay? There's a lot of instances where I might not have access to a gym, but I have access to movement patterns and my body weight. So in this specific case, this is where we're gonna give you guys more back exercises based off of just using your body weight. One of my favorite back exercises that I like to do at home is going to be the handstand push-up. Now, a lot of you are gonna say, okay, well, I can't do a handstand push-up, and isn't that more shoulders anyway? I like to think about if you do the wheel, if you do that back bend, and then you use that as a warm-up and then get into this, you're gonna start to feel that in your upper back big time. The other thing I love about the handstand push-up is that the load is pretty substantial. So if you have issues with like locking out of the bench, even to a point like a push press, this is gonna transfer absolutely phenomenally. Now, as we create a progression, okay, I like to think about just starting off with your feet on a box and doing like a pike push-up. And that's gonna be a fantastic starting point. Then the next position that you can get into is you can just get on the wall and do a slow eccentric. Obviously, you should be having pads where your head can come down, put your feet back down, kick back up in the lockout position, do a slow eccentric. Okay, now we're gonna go through and we're gonna get to the bottom and we're gonna kip on the way back up. That's gonna help improve that drive. Then the next thing that we can do is a shorter range of motion without a kip. So we can stack up some pads, we can do that shorter range of motion. That's gonna be a great way to really start to build that strength. Then you can remove those pads slowly, okay, over a couple of weeks, and then increase that range of motion to get much deeper. So the best way to approach that handstand push-up is to follow that specific progression. But another big aspect is just getting comfortable holding that overhead position. A lot of people just struggle with actually kicking their legs up. So that's one thing that you can do, is that while you're working through this progression over a weekly or monthly basis, you can do handstand holds for, let's say, 30 seconds at a time, as long as you don't get too dizzy, you feel okay, and then build into this over that long period of time to eventually execute a full range of motion handstand push-up. The handstand push-up is a great compound movement that's going to use just body weight to get stronger. So another exercise that involves absolutely zero weight, except for your body weight, and involves your back, is going to be a reclining row. Now, a lot of people look at the reclining row as like the little brother or the little sister of the pull-up. And I think that's a little bit of a misnomer. I think this is a freaking awesome exercise for various different reasons. And one of them actually involves the bench press. I also think that this movement pattern, okay, can help younger athletes really learn how to execute an actual pull-up properly by actually thinking about bending the bar to their chest. And that's gonna light up their recruitment in their back. So that's another big factor here, is that if we can think about things almost like pulling from the fingers or from the pinkies, okay? So I'm here, I wanna think about pulling from the pinkies and getting my elbows back. Now, the way this relates to the bench press, okay, is that if I have a younger athlete or even an older athlete who tends to bench like this, okay? They go here, and they might like turn like this. A lot of baseball players will like look this way, they do wild stuff, and they can't hold that upper back position packed in. What we wanna do is add in some type of isometric here. And you wanna think about almost slamming that sternum into the bar and holding and squeezing it aggressively and bending the bar around your chest. Then what we can do is, if we're not doing that back workout, we can then take the athlete, go over onto a dumbbell bench or go over onto a bench press and try to get them to have the exact same feeling while they're pressing. That leads to the next part of the progression. If I'm going here, I actually want to think about almost pushing myself down. Okay, here, down, back up there. Now, if I want to make this a little bit harder, I can move my feet here. Okay, so the progression would be move your feet further away or even elevate your feet here. And this is going to be a little bit more of that upper back. And then finally, the next thing we're gonna do is that if we see the athlete who has a dumbbell bench issue, let's say they rotate one way over the other, the next aspect is to do a single arm version of this. So getting set here, don't hit your head, right here, and come up. But make sure you have a stable footing because your foot will slide a little bit. And that movement is ungodly challenging. I think that exercise, the single arm reclining row, is actually more challenging than like a heavy croc row or a heavy one arm row. So use that progression, start with your center mass behind the bar, slowly work forward. Make sure you're pulling that sternum to the bar, bend from the pinkies, and then think about how this transfers over to the bench press as well, because obviously the bench press is the best upper body exercise. Now we're gonna go into the next body weight back exercise that you can use to get as swole as possible. Now, what kind of sports performance coach would I be if I wasn't talking about one of the greatest back building exercises that just uses the body weight? And I'm not talking about rope climb, that's gonna come in a little bit later. I'm gonna be talking about the pull-up. Okay, and I wanna give you guys a nice progression here. The pull-up is arguably the best movement that we can do to really light up that back. Especially if over time, let's say we are actually adding weight, it's gonna be a fantastic way to test your athletes to see how strong and how stable they are in that overhead position. If you can't do a pull-up, you can follow this unique progression. Okay, so I actually like using, just right off the bat, like a simple jumping pull-up position. And if you have an athlete who's a little bit shorter, you can go on a shorter position, on a shorter bar. If you have an athlete who's a little taller, go on a taller bar. It's gonna require a little bit of athleticism, so we can get set here, jump up and pull. And then on the eccentric, release. Jump up, release. Here, like that. If you're a younger athlete, this is fantastic because it's going to require some coordination. You're going to have that momentum building into it. It's going to help you feel that squeeze at the top. The next thing that we can do is go jump isometric. So I'm here and release. Jump, isometric, release. Now, the next thing after that, we can go with a jump, isometric, slow eccentric. And that's what we're gonna really try and build into some strength. You're gonna feel, as you get into the progression with the eccentric, your lats will start to get sore a couple days after if you've never done a pull-up before. And that's really gonna be where you start to develop that lat strength. So we're gonna go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's say you go 10 to 15 reps like that, and you can do that in one single workout. The next big factor here, I believe wholeheartedly in trying to use a stretch shortening cycle at the bottom of the pull-up. So what that's gonna look like is we're gonna see full extension here, and you almost wanna try and get a little bit of a bounce. I can't wait to hear all the comments down in the comment section. Oh my gosh, you're gonna blow out your shoulders. Even though we train thousands of kids and this has never happened, I can't wait to read them. Now, it's gonna look like this. I'm gonna jump, pull up, I'm gonna hold a little, go through the eccentric, and when I get to that stretch shortening cycle here, I'm gonna add in a kip. Oh my God, we're gonna be kipping on this channel. Now, I don't know how to actually do a proper kip, so just bear with me, but that's what we're gonna look like here. Up. Come down, I'm gonna go all the way to that stretch shortening cycle, like right here, and then I kip. Okay, so that's the next progression, not pression. Here, stretch shortening cycle, kip. Okay, so you can almost do like a little bit of a dolphin movement there. Now, the next movement from that, we remove the kip. I feel like I just poisoned this channel by talking about kipping. We take the kip out, and now we wanna go down and try and get the bounce out of the bottom. So that's gonna look like this, here, up. Okay, so we go all the way down. Final aspect here is we wanna start from a dead hang. I think it's actually one of the best ways to transfer to sports like swimming, wrestling, pitching, baseball. So we're gonna be here, 1, 2, pull up. 1, 2, pull up. Okay, so that's that big time progression. And then obviously as you get more and more advanced, you can start to do muscle ups, you can start to do ring muscle ups, and all types of crazy stuff that's really gonna be just using your body weight to strengthen your back. Body weight exercises are freaking fantastic for building that upper back, for building your lats, and a little bit of those biceps. It's one of the best byproducts of body weight back exercises. Now, I'm gonna fill you in on a little secret. I'm gonna show you a movement that no one in the world has seen until about 5 minutes ago. We're gonna demonstrate a wild exercise that's gonna target your abs and target your lats and a little bit of those biceps. Now, if you have access to a rope, I think this is the all-time greatest back exercise, body weight back exercise, is going to be literally rope climbs, okay? And you can do rope climbs with 1 rope, you can do rope climbs with 2 ropes, which would be Donkey Kongs. If you can't do a rope climb, but you have access to a sled and a rope or a wall and a rope, you can do this sweet exercise. Now, we've got over 700 other movements that are inside of our strength training app, Peak Strength. If you want more back exercises, if you want exercises that are gonna help you become a freak athlete, make sure you head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store. You're gonna get over 700 different exercises and a periodized program that's gonna help you become a freak. Now check this out. I wanna get set on these furniture sliders. I want force into the ground and I wanna squeeze almost like I'm in a hollow rock position, but I'm standing. So I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna go like this, pull, and try and squeeze through my quads and my abs, and I wanna put pressure in the middle of my foot. Okay, I'm gonna come up as fast as I can here, finish that off, walk backwards. Okay, and let's say you put on a timer. So let's pretend you can't do those rope climbs. You can just rip through this, get as many reps as you can in a 5-minute period, okay? And the difference here too is that typically if you're doing a sled pull, you're gonna dig in a little bit with your toes. So one aspect of this, and I can feel it already, is that I hold this hollow position a little more and I put more pressure through the middle of my foot. So I'm here again, boom. Work all the way down to the end without dying. Oh. Because remember, freaks, if you want to become a champion, you've always Gotta cultivate your power and come up with crazy exercises. Peace.